Welcome on into the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. We've got another season review coming your way today, and it is the 2025 Melbourne Demons season review. As each team is knocked out of the competition this year, we are doing a season review running through the best players, all the team stats, everything you need to know about how your team went this season. So we're going to be going through the Melbourne Demons today. It'll be about a 25-30 minute video, so we're going to motor through quite a lot. So let's jump into it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the noti bell so you don't miss any videos. We have 2 podcasts every week. We have multiple other videos. Plenty of stuff happening with finals, so make sure you stick around with the channel. A look back at the Demons season. They played 23 matches, obviously. Every team plays 23 in the home and away. 7 wins, 16 losses. A pretty healthy percentage for a team that lost 16 matches, 93.3%. Finished 14th on the ladder. In terms of scoring, 10th highest scoring team in the competition at 82.7 points per game, and 12th best defense, I guess, 88.61 points against. So not too bad there, minus 6 points per game. They used 36 players this season, which is equal 10th most in the competition. They also had 6 debutants, which is the 11th most. A fair way behind the first, which was obviously Essendon, but most other teams, I think from second through to like 11, 12, there was only a few spots, a few difference in debutants there. Average age 26.01, so they are the 7th oldest team this season, even with those 6 debutants, and average experience of 116.92, which is the 5th. They're a team that has quite a few older players as well as quite a few young players, so they have an interesting mix. Probably missing all those middle range players at the moment. Their record against the top 9 this year was 2 wins, 10 losses. You're not going to make finals with that sort of record. But the more disappointing one for them, I reckon, and the thing that made them finish as low as 14th instead of probably like 10, 11, 12 is the fact that they went 5 and 6 against bottom 9 teams. So they did really struggle against teams that perhaps they should have been competitive with. Throughout the season, they lost a couple close ones. There's no doubt about that. I think they lost 3 games by 6 points. They lost a couple others by less than 6 points. So they were the team that, across the whole AFL in the home and away season, lost the most amount of games by 7 points or less. So they had 5. I think Collingwood had 4. And then a whole bunch of teams had 2 and 3. So they're not that far off, I don't think, based on that. Like, you swing them around, who knows? You win a couple extra there, all of a sudden you're competing with the Sydney's sort of area. So they're not quite there. They're a little bit off, but I don't think they're a massive distance away. We'll jump into the game-by-game wrap-up of their season. Obviously, they started in round 1 against GWS, who did end up making finals. So a tough start. It was at the MCG. It was wet, and they actually played pretty well in that game. GWS were coming off a massive win against Collingwood, and the Demons put up a really good fight and just couldn't quite win it. Lost it by 3 points in the dying moments of that game. But then the next month of football was a really, really rough patch for them. They got smacked by North Melbourne, mainly in the final quarter. I think they were 17 or 19 points down at 3/4 time, and in a spot where they could have been competitive and then just fell apart. They then got beaten by Gold Coast by 58 points at the MCG. Went to GMHBA. Not terrible there. 39-point loss to Geelong, who are arguably one of the best teams in the competition this season. And then the probably the most disappointing of that 5-game stretch is the Bombers at Adelaide Oval, losing by 39 points. I know Bombers had a couple wins at that stage. They didn't have as many injuries in the early season, but still a very disappointing result for the Demons. And then all of a sudden they turned it around over the next 6 weeks. It was a weird sort of season. A lot of red, and then a lot of green, and then a lot of red. Fremantle beating them by 10 points at the MCG was a really, really good win as their first win of the season. Then obviously beat Richmond by 20 points. Nothing too special there. Did beat West Coast over at Optus Stadium once again. They're low-ranked teams, the Richmond and West Coast wins, but Fremantle ended up qualifying for finals. So they beat one good team there. They lost to Hawthorn by 35, which, I mean, Hawthorn are one of the better teams. Brisbane, they beat them by 11 points at the Gabba, which is absolutely absurd. They're maybe their best win of the season, but maybe the next one was because they beat Sydney at the MCG by 53 points to go on a little 5 out of 6 games won in that little stretch. And it was like, wow, maybe, just maybe, their season can be alive at this point because they're 5 and 6 on the season after 11 games, and heading it towards the bye, they certainly had some winnable games in this little stretch. They lost to St Kilda in one of the worst performances of their year. In Alice Springs, they kicked terribly in front of goal. It should have been a lot closer than 28 points. I'm not saying they should have won. It's arguable either way who would have won, but they should have kicked straighter and this would have been a close game. They lost to Collingwood by 1 point, who ended up a top 4 team. Really, really solid performance there and a little bit unlucky in round 13. And then round 14, they lost by 25 points to Port Adelaide at the Adelaide Oval. And that was not officially the end of their season, but at this point, they're 5-9. If they had have got 2 of those and all of a sudden 7 and whatever that equals, maybe, just maybe 7 and 8, or 7 and 7, or whatever it is, after 14 weeks, they would have maybe had a slight chance going into the back end of the season. They still would have had a fair bit of work to do, but it would have been possible. Came out of the bye, played Gold Coast, lost by 19 points, not bad result. Played Adelaide at the Adelaide Oval, so 2 away games to top 8 teams, and pretty competitive in them both. Lost that one by 13 points. They then beat North Melbourne by 36 points in the rematch of the round 2 game where they got smacked, and did much better here. Then 2 close losses, losing to Carlton by 8 points and St Kilda by 6 points. That St Kilda one. Everyone remembers that because they were up by 40 odd points and threw that game away as St Kilda just absolutely dominated the final quarter and the final 10-15 seconds to win that game by 6. West Coast, they beat by 83 points at Marvel Stadium, and then it was the run home with a couple close losses. Bulldogs, they lost by 6 points. Hawthorn by 36 points, and then finished the season with Collingwood losing by 6 points. A season where they're not that far off, in all honesty. They lost to Collingwood twice and GWS once by less than a kick, as well as Bulldogs, who were another team that were in the top 9. So 4 of their 5 real close losses were against finals competitive teams. So that's a pretty okay thing. If they had have got most of them, maybe they would have been within range. It was a bad start to their year if they could have got a couple early ones, or heading into the bye if they could have got the St Kilda and Collingwood wins, or 2 of those last 3. At the bye, they would have been within a chance of playing finals, and who knows. But as it was, that's how their season ended. 7 wins is not enough, nowhere near enough to play finals on any year, especially this year. Jumping into some stats, there's a lot here. We won't be going through them all, but we'll give a little look at some of the key stats towards the Melbourne Demons season this year. Pretty high disposal team, getting team. They are in the positives over the course of the season for disposals, +3 per game. 10th highest in the competition, so just above average. Disposal efficiency, pretty solid, both for and against. That tells you that they do get quite a lot of uncontested football, but their games are also pretty heavily contested. Like, they have +10 contested disposals in the competition. They're the 4th most contested, 4th best contested ball winning team in the competition. Their kick percentage is pretty high, 9th, so right around the mid-table. Inside 50s, I don't know why I don't have a ranking on the difference there, but they were +3.69 inside 50s per game. So they're getting the ball forward a lot. Maybe not converting it as well as they would have liked. The intercept game, once again, above average in that discipline. Centre clearances, they're fourth in the competition. Stoppage clearances, not quite so good. So they're good out of the centre, maybe not so much out of the stoppage clearance. We'll get to scoring from those sort of sources in a minute. Other key stats, accuracy, 16th in the competition. Might be a big sign of where this season went wrong for them a little bit. So third worst at kicking goal, but also their opposition went at the best in the competition at 52%. So that is a massive difference right there. In those close games, it makes a massive difference. But even in games of like 20-point margins, 30-point margins, it makes a massive difference. So I think that's one of the bigger takeaways from the Melbourne season is that accuracy. Their ability to create shots from inside 50s. As we said, they do get quite a lot of inside 50s, but their ability to create shots from that is pretty good at 50%, fifth best in the competition and 14th best against isn't great, but it's okay when you consider that they're getting an extra 3 inside 50s per game. But yeah, the major issue is that accuracy. 44.57 is just not good enough to be playing finals, I wouldn't have thought. Pretty low tackling team. Nothing too exciting there. Now, score sources. They're in the negatives across the board here, which isn't surprising because they're slightly negative in scoring for the season, but pretty much mid-range across kick-in, stoppage, and turnover. So tells you that they don't have any really strong strengths in those areas or weaknesses. They're just kind of consistently across the board. Score origins is slightly different. Their ability from the defensive half, not fantastic, 14th best in terms of point differential. But forward half, they're actually quite competitive, plus 3.65 points per game and 8th best in the competition. From the centre bounce, we said that they do win over, well, they're the 4th best centre clearance team, but in terms of scoring from centre bounce, 7th best. Offensively, 16th best defensively, so overall a negative impact there. Which isn't great when you're considering that you're winning more centre clearances than the opposition, but it's not the end of the world. We'll move into a little player update. First of all, players that missed 5 or more games this season. This isn't everyone, obviously, and not all of them missed because of injuries or suspensions. Some of it was form. But Bailey Laurie missed 22 games as a general forward. Jack Billings only got the 1 game as well. Jake Lever missed a fair chunk of the season. He missed 15 matches. Thorthorpe missed 14. Spargo 13. Jacob Van Rooyen 7. Stephen May missed 7. So a couple of their key defenders missed quite a bit of football. Caleb Windsor 6. Judd McPhee 6 games. Tom McDonald 6. And Jack Viney missed 5. Players that were on their list in 2024 that are no longer on their list this season. They had 3 retirees. Obviously, Angus Brayshaw retired at the start of last season, but technically was on their list last year. So he didn't make much difference this year because he didn't play last year. But obviously, they're probably still feeling the effects of losing him. Ben Brown, he retired at the end of last year. He didn't have much of an impact last season, so no massive loss there for them. Lockie Hunter, also not hugely great last season. He's retired as well. So that's those 3 retirements. The big one, though, Alex Neil-Bullen, obviously their general forward, who's gone to Adelaide, slightly rated lower than he did last year, but his ability as that high half forward role, sometimes midfield role, certainly was missed. We'll get into individual players shortly and where they cover that, but I think he's definitely a loss for them. There's no doubt about it. But I think they do have a player at least that can potentially step into that role. Did kind of step into that role this year and potentially will continue to over the next couple of years and continue to get better and better. We'll now jump into position by position. Starting in the defence with general defenders. This is using the All Aussie Rules rating system that we use for every single game. Gives every player a rating. Then and position, and then we rank them based on that. So that's how we get that. Yeah, Jake Bowie was their highest rated general defender this year. He was a massive improver. He played every game for them, ended up 17th best general defender in the competition, up from 79th last year where he averaged a rating of 36.5. Now it's a 53.8. That's a massive improvement and by far their best improver across the board this season. So a really good season from him and one that he'll be hoping to continue to develop over the next 12 months, and hopefully for him he can be even higher than 17th next season. Christian Salem, pretty much similar to last year, slightly higher, 22nd best general defender. Trent Rivers, once again, very similar to last year, slightly down but not major. All three of those guys playing every game for the season certainly helps with the consistency, but down back. That's three really solid top 25 general defenders in the competition this season at this team. So their backline, I don't think, is a major issue. I think we'll get to the key defenders. They did miss some games, the key defenders, and that might be a little bit of an issue. But their general defenders, I think, are pretty solid. Caleb Windsor played more of a defensive role this year. He was more outside mid last year, rated very similarly. Judd McPhee, he was the big dropper. He played 17 games, so missed 6, and his rating dropped quite a fair bit from 59th best ranked general defender last season down to 83rd. I don't know for the reasons for that, but I think it's probably a lot to do with the fact that Bowie was the big improver in this lineup. Blake Howes, he was basically the same as last year, exactly same ranked. And Tajwo Woden played just the one game, rated basically the same as he did last year. Key defender-wise, Stephen May is obviously their best key defender. He was 4th best last year, down to 7th best this year. Played 16 games, slightly lower ranking, but still ranked pretty high in terms of across the board of key defenders. So pretty solid season from him, as you kind of expect. Tom McDonald played 17 games, pretty much ranked exactly the same as last year. 15th best last year, 17th best this year. So pretty solid numbers again from him. Daniel Turner played 19 games. He was pretty much a key forward last year. Early season, he played a few games key forward. Overall, across the year, he did play more defence than forward. His rating really was pretty solid down back. I think he's shown some really good signs that he will be a key defender for this team for quite a while. Jake Lever, only played the 8 games, ranked lower than last year by a fair bit, but missed a lot of football. But they've got 4 key defenders there that I think are certainly capable. So we'll see what that means in the off-season for the Demons. But the stocks down back are pretty solid. Jed Adams played just the one game. He's unranked. Moving towards the forwards. General forwards first, and this is probably their Neil Bullen replacement in Cade Chandler. 35th best last year, up to 18th best, so still a little bit off the Neil Bullen numbers of 2024, but certainly moving towards that sort of area. Pretty solid season from him. Had some quieter games, but his best is certainly good. Jake Melksham, he had a good year. His second half of the year, especially out of the bye, was really good. He was managing to kick quite a lot of goals for the team across I think a 3 or 4 week period, managed like 4 goals each week. He's getting towards the end of his career. It's not ideal, but at the same time, he did play some good football this year. Tom Sparrow, more of a forward role this year, does still play a little bit of midfield time as well. His rating dropped a little bit from last season, so not great. Charlie Spargo did improve, but not enough to warrant getting too excited just yet. Also shows some really good signs. I don't think we've seen enough from him yet to be too to suggest he's ready, but he has certainly shown some good signs. Harry Sharp, he's a disappointing one, obviously coming across to Melbourne this season, and his rating dropped. He really struggled to make a massive impact on games. Played 18 matches, but I think was a bit disappointing in my eyes. Bailey Laurie, he played just the one game, was unranked. Jay Cully played 4 games late season after getting picked up, and played really well. His numbers look really good in Melbourne, so maybe he's someone that it could be a really good asset for this team. Jack Henderson played the 5 games, not massively highly rated there. Key forwards, like obviously undersized, don't have perhaps the class of other teams, but Bailey Fritsch ended up higher rated than last year when starting the season pretty slowly, got dropped for a game and came back and played some really good football from then on. 18th best key forward. He's probably the sort of person that you want as your second key forward, not your number one. Because if he was putting up these numbers as your second key forward, you'd be quite happy. But unfortunately for Melbourne, they just are really struggling to have that key forward that can kick goals consistently. And yeah, that's I think their major issue up forward. Van Rooyen played 16 games, pretty much similarly rated to last year. Him and Petty both last year and this year have the sort of numbers that you would expect of a third key forward. And Bailey Fritsch, as I said, a second key forward. So they're missing that one at the top, I think. Aiden Johnson, he played 5 games, didn't show a huge amount. Matthew Jefferson, 7 matches, and Tom Fullerton played 2. All of them unranked, obviously, and none of them played last year. Moving on to the midfield. Inside mids, they really only rotate the 4 main ones. Other like players like Chandler, Sparrow, and the like do rotate through, as well as some of their outside mids also rotate through that inside mid role. But it's the main 4 for them, and they got most of the season out of all of them. Petrarca playing every game, Pickett missing 3, Oliver missing just the 1, and Jack Viney missing 5. Starting at the top, Petrarca still rated 30th best inside mid for the season, but last year his numbers were a lot better. He did miss the whole second half of last year, but his numbers have dropped from last year, so that it's not ideal, obviously. I think he's still got plenty of good football in him. If he can get back towards that 65 plus rating next season, I think this team will be a team that can move up the ladder a little bit, depending what other puzzle pieces they get. Pickett, he was a big improver. Obviously played a lot more midfield time this year than he did last year. He slightly had more time in general forward than midfield last year. This year it's quite a bit more midfield time than forward time. He kicks goals. He breaks games open. He is very, very talented. Ended up 38th best inside mid in the competition, so not too bad numbers there. A good season overall from Pickett. Clayton Oliver missed just the 1 game, slightly higher rated than last year, went from a 51 to almost a 56, so quite a big improvement. Showed some signs. If he should be able to get back into the 60s. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He's still young enough and talented enough that he can get that rating back up. I think those 3 as an inside mid core, as your 3 big guns in the midfield, certainly is good enough to compete with any midfield. Jack Viney, he played 18 games, more your defensive, hard tackling midfielder, rated similarly to last year, similar to what we kind of expect from Viney. So another good year from him without being outstanding. Outside mids, their debutant in Harvey Langford played all but 1 game, was outstanding. He's going to be in contention for the Rising Star. There hasn't been a lot of talk about him winning it. I think he's genuinely in that conversation, in that top 3, I believe, in the Rising Star this year. I think it should go to him, Curtin, or probably Murphy Reid is my top pick. But I think he should genuinely be in that conversation. He showed some really good signs. Ends up as the 11th highest rated outside mid across the season. Had a fantastic year. Yeah, basically the long and the short of it. Ed Langdon, his rating slightly down on last year, but still 23rd best outside mid. He does play a variety of roles, whether it's back flank, whether it's outside mid, sometimes inside mid, tagging role. sometimes general forward. So he does play a lot of different positions, Ed Langdon. And yeah, he was still pretty solid. Xavier Lindsay, another first year player for the Demons, and showed some solid signs. Um, I think we'll see a lot more from him next year, but still pretty solid. Jack Billings played just the one game. His rating not fantastic. And the ruckman, the 8-time All-Australian ruckman now, Max Gawn, fantastic season from him. 23 matches, didn't miss a game. Last year was ranked number 1 ruckman in the competition. This year, second best. Slightly down on rating, but not much. Not anything to be worried about. Tristan Cherry was the number 1 rated ruckman in the competition, but on the All Aussie rules rating system. But Max Gawn had a fantastic year. No real surprise there. He's put together a fantastic career all the way through, and he continues to do that. So yeah, him with this inside midfield core, I think we should be expecting more from them. I think, as I said though, their major issue is their forward line, especially their key forward stocks. Just a little summary of the different positions and where they rank for a little explanation. Elite is the top 10% of each position. Top class is from 10 to 25%. Above average is 25 to 40%. Average is your 40 to 60%. Below average is everybody below 60%. And unranked is players that did not play at least 6 games of 50% game time or more. Starting with, they've just got one elite player. That's Max Gawn, based on this season's numbers alone, not career numbers, obviously. Top class players, they have a few. That general defender line is really good. Then they've got a key defender, general forward, outside mid. So they've got a good little range there. Then above average. So everyone in the top 40%, they have 13 players ranked in the top 40% of their positions. So that's pretty solid numbers. And it's a good variety of players. Just the one key forward might be the concern, but everywhere else, there's pretty solid stocks, I think. Average, another 7. So 20 out of their best 23, basically, are rated at least average or better. So that's most of the team. And I think they still have the pieces to try and bounce back. I don't know. It depends what they pick up in the off-season, if they lose anyone and that sort of stuff. But it will be interesting because I think they've got the building blocks there. The senior players are getting on, like Max Gawn, Petrarca, Oliver, Viney, and some of their forward line players, Fritsch and Melksham and stuff, as well as their defenders in Stephen May, McDonald and Lever. But they still have some decent building blocks there, I believe, from what I can see. Final thing to look at is how our best and fairest went. So we give top 5 players in the rating system votes each game. If the team wins, you get 10, 8, 6, 4, and 2 for the top 5. If the team loses, it's half of that, so 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Across the season, I mean, if Max Gawn doesn't win their best and fairest, there's something seriously wrong. I think he was absolutely their best player by a mile across the year. 112 votes for him. Christian Petrarca gets 50. He was really good throughout without being outstanding. Pickett, similar, 46 votes. He had some absolutely outstanding games. Trent Rivers, surprisingly in some ways, gets 30 votes as he was their 3rd highest rated general defender across the year, but suggests that maybe he has those more up and down games where sometimes he's in the best 5, but then there's a lot of games where he doesn't rate so well compared to the other 2 general defenders in Salem and Bowie, who both polled less. Maybe they're the more consistent types. Jack Viney, 28 votes, is 5th. Clayton Oliver, 26 with 6th place. Then Salem, 21 votes. Bailey Fritsch, 20. Jake Bowie, as we said, with 19. Langford, the first-year player, with 15, gets 10th spot in our MVP, best and fairest. Daniel Turner, 14 votes. Melksham, 14. Stephen May, 13. Cade Chandler would have probably liked a little bit more, and maybe next year if he can develop a bit better. And Ed Langdon, 9 votes. That's pretty much everything we have for the Melbourne Demons season. Um, Disappointing year across the board. They didn't win enough games of football. It's kind of where they're at the moment. They haven't fully bottomed out, but they haven't also been overly competitive last year and again this year. So I feel like it's going to be an interesting off season for them because we're going to find out whether they are trying to jump straight back up or if they are just going to do a mini rebuild sort of thing. Um, I guess we'll find out over the off season, but at the moment, I think they have building blocks there, but they also have trade stock if they so wish to try and do that. So we'll see what happens. That's the Melbourne Demons season 25 review. We'll be back with plenty more videos coming up this week. There's already 4 other teams' season reviews up on the YouTube channel, so go check them out. West Coast, Richmond, North Melbourne, Essendon. Over the next 4 or 5 days, there's going to be Port Adelaide, St Kilda, Carlton, Sydney, Bulldogs, all coming out, as well as the losers of the elimination finals won't be too far away either. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that noti bell so you don't miss any drops. We have plenty of football content all over the internet, all Aussie Rules, all over social media, over YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Go check it out. All Aussie Rules everywhere. I'm Jay. This is the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.